One of the things that surfaced early on was inequities in funding. That started to become a core concern or initiative of the organization, was to try and make sure that at least the funding ought to be more fair.
We all know that rural metro funding gaps exist, and MREA's one of our primary jobs is to highlight those gaps and point those out to legislators and seek solutions to close those gaps. We measure this typically by what we call the 5th to 95th gap, looking at the 95th percentile of funded districts to the lowest 5th percentile of districts. Those gaps have ranged over the last many decades, reaching as high as 30, 40%, as low as 18% in the general education program. And so it's a constant battle to keep that gap as low as we can, but that's a key data point that we continue to highlight and bring to the legislators' attention.
When you talk about closing that financial gap, you're talking about impacting what happens in the classroom. You're talking about what happens in terms of staffing. You're talking about what happens in terms of program equity. And you're talking in terms of satisfaction of parents and parental support for the programs that are provided.
One of the key strategies to closing the 5th to 95th gap was to create local optional revenue, and that's allowed many rural school districts to generate operating money that goes just to pay the bills, to cover teacher salaries, keep class sizes small, and continue programs.
A real good example of that would be with the closing of the donut hole a number of years ago, and we had a situation where the larger schools had some real good financial funding breaks, and there was, for smaller schools, there was funding through the small schools revenue, and for those of us that were regional centers in the middle, we weren't getting anything. We were in that donut hole, and MREA was very instrumental in getting the donut hole closed and bringing about the local optional revenue that really became crucial. And that money, of course, then translates into programs and benefits for our students.
MREA is for all students in the state. We're not just for rural education, but we're certainly there to make sure that we get the fair share